did.
What'd you do at the gym?
Today was leg day.
What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I want to hear this.
Yeah, today, well, I don't know if you knew, but I do work with Cody.
Oh, you do? I love Cody.
Yes, he
Cody's great.
Like I can go back to, it was around the time that we started working together, where and he has completely changed. Like we can talk about that for probably 3 hours.
He's great.
But having that consistency and that like progressive overload of going to the gym, like I would always, like for the past 10 years, I've gone to the gym and done workouts, but having that, okay, we're going to be consistently doing this program over the course of this many weeks, and then we're going to change it, like completely drastically changed my whole body. So I have had a back issue for probably a month or two.
Oh no.
So we've definitely had to adjust what we're doing in that time. Because it's just been a nagging thing that kept coming up and not going away. So I'm doing like, finally, I was like, fine, I'll go do therapy for it. But like a lot of single leg movements right now. So like reverse lunges. He has this fun, very fun. I'm like, I like putting myself through pain. So he has like a cluster set for a few things. So what you'll do is you'll do 3 reps and wait 15 seconds, do 4 reps, wait 15 seconds, do 5 reps, 6 reps, 7 reps with about 70% of your 1 rep max for different movements. So those are rough skis this morning.
He's good. He's got it down.
I love him so much.
Yeah, he's awesome. All right. Well, let's get to it. Hold on. Let me pull up my screen. I have to fix my screen. Okay. All right, guys. So welcome to Health Babes podcast. We have Jessika Carr. Jessika is awesome. So I met Jessika as a patient, actually. She was one of our patients. What?
I said it was so cool.
Yes, which is so cool. And she is actually the first ever full-time female referee for the WWE. She's on the Friday Night SmackDown, which is on every week on Fox, and she's amazing. So why don't you kind of walk us through like your 10-year plus journey getting into this whole wrestling, like you as a wrestler and then you becoming the first full-time official.
Yeah, it is. And to like put this in the small amount of time, like a window is kind of hard because every journey is extensive. But just to give you the bare bones of where I started from, like growing up, huge wrestling fan. Like this wasn't something like I was an athlete and I was like, yeah, let me do that. No, like I was far from an athlete. Growing up, I was a heavyset kid. I was 230 plus pounds, didn't do activity at all. Like mile run in school time was traumatic for me because like I couldn't even run halfway around a track once. Like that's the kind of out of shape individual that I was. And so it was around like senior year of high school where a good friend of mine had lost a significant amount of weight. You know, we were like, you know, the chubby girls that were, you know, fun loving and this and that. And she, you know, made the choices to go to the gym and get in shape. And I was like, all right, I'll go with you type thing. Because, you know, if you could do it, I guess I can make the effort to try. But I was on the elliptical machine at high school. So that's like 16, 17 years old, if that. And at the lowest resistance possible on this elliptical machine. And I couldn't last for 5 minutes.
Wow.
And I was just so like that's like your low point, right? Of what, but I was smart enough or aware enough to realize that I had time.
Of course.
That I was young and that like I could change and that like, but that was the trigger for me. Like what's truly stopping you from whatever you wanted to do? And that was a choice that I said I wanted to pursue being a professional wrestler.
And what a goal, Jess. What a goal from I can't make it, you know, this long, which most kids would beat themselves up and just use that as their reason to not move forward. And you didn't. You were like, I'm going to go from this to this, which is really cool.
Yeah. And of course it's nuts at the time because up to that point, like I knew I wanted to pursue a career in wrestling, like whether that was being a creative writer or working backstage. Like I went on the WWE website and looked up like the degree that the writers needed, or like what the social media website, like what their degrees were. So that is how I depicted what I wanted to do in college. Like I knew that this was the direction I needed to go. I just was like very just couldn't think that I could actually get in the ring myself. But it was at that point when I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna pursue it. And I also had met a girl in New Jersey. Well, she lived in New Jersey, but we had met through like, I guess like probably meeting up at a signing or something of a wrestler or whatever. And she started training and I saw her videos and her doing stuff. And I was like, so it was a lot of seeing people doing things and then me going, well, why can't I do that? Let me pursue that and let me go after that. So that was in 2009 when I started training regularly. But before that, sorry, my life is very much of a domino effect. So one thing happens, oddly coincidentally, another thing happens, oddly coincidentally, another thing happens. So I went to a wrestling show. But for those of you who don't know, there's WWE, but there's also independent shows all across the country that are small shows. Think like small, like dive bar, like, you know, if you're in a band, you do small shows to work your way up to the big time, right? So that's what these were. They were small shows. It was in a bingo hall.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a bingo hall. Some names that had made it to television before, but not. And I went and I saw that. And like it was new to me. It was foreign because all I had ever seen was WWE with the big time, with the big lights and the television. Like that's what I had saw. So to come into this rinky dink bingo hall, it was packed though. You know, this was a good indie show. There are bad indie shows out there. I later would perform on many of them, but
I think you have to get to the top, don't you?
Oh yeah. Yes. But this was the first one I had went to, and there were probably 500, 600 people there. And I was like, oh my gosh, look at this makeshift like entranceway they made up. That was like, I was like, whoa, this is cool. So I took a picture of it, and needless to say, looking through photos later, I looked through and I actually had took a picture of the setup, but I actually had taken a picture of who would eventually be my mentor.
Wow.
Yeah, my mentor and someone that like has guided me through my whole journey of this. His name is Pat Brink.
Mm-hmm.
And he was no longer wrestles, but at that time he was on that indie show doing stuff. And he helped me lose my initial weight. So he helped me lose my 30 pounds because he on MySpace at the time.
Right?
MySpace.
Yeah. I went to the show. I saw him, friend requested him because that was who coincidentally also in the show like drew me to him. He's a big guy. He's like 6'8", like, you know, good looking guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give that to him.
And hearing that,
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So I'll admit it. He's like, I knew it all along, but yeah. He made a MySpace bulletin at the time that he was available for personal training.
Okay.
And so I reached out to him. Super affordable. I think he charged me $25 for an hour.
Oh, wow.
And then he would usually stay an hour and a half. But the kicker was he came to my gym too. Like it was.
That's kind of unheard of now.
Yeah. Right? No, who else would, especially at the time, like really put that effort into doing that? Even looking back, like, would I do that for someone else now? Probably no. But he opened those initial doors for my initial weight loss, but then opening the doors for training for me to get into a wrestling ring.
Wow.
Weird.
Like the domino effect, right? It's
yeah. One thing oddly, one thing next to another. And so there's lots of, side stories and whatnot to get to that. So I started training in Baltimore 2009, and he had originally trained at a school down here in Florida, named Team 3D Academy, which was at the time was owned and operated by the Dudley Boys. Their names are Bubba and Devon. They're WWE Hall of Famers. And so my original mentor, Pat Brink, always wanted to push that on me that you should go there, you should do that. It wasn't until I sprained my ankle and got out of a really bad relationship at the time. The bad relationship might be listening, so sorry, you were a bad relationship.
He knows.
he should know.
It's not a surprise, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that kind of catapulted me to finally getting to Florida, where I had, less than $1,000 in my bank account, didn't know anyone, had no friends or family in Florida, and moved there in 2015 to pursue, like, I had finished college in Baltimore doing all those things, and so moved there and eventually had my WWE tryout in 2017, which, I got in the best shape of my life for it. Lots of maybe unhealthy choices to get there along the way. But did them anyway, because that's what I thought I had to be to get in that spot. Right. So, got there and they said, hey, something fell on him and now he's scared. They said, hey, we have this opportunity, but would you be interested in being a referee? Wow. So it was a strange circumstance for me, because I immediately said yes, because I wanted to be here. This is what I wanted to do. I needed to be here in the WWE, and you're giving me an open door, an opportunity, a shot. That's amazing. And I'm so grateful that I took it, and I'm running with it to the best of my ability. Plus, making history on top of the company and the industry is amazing as well. But it was an interesting dilemma that I've had to go through therapy and many other things for. It's because I went through a time of not believing in myself because I was not an athlete, to having and pursuing this dream, taking the chance to move away from home and to pursue that dream and that focus and that idea and that identity of being a wrestler. And then finally told, here's another direction for you. Do you want to take it or not?
Wow.
So it was just like, yeah, but once I took it, I slowly started to realize how hard it was going to be for me, because I had so much rooted identity in that wrestler. Wrestler was who I was. The first thing I met, what do you do? Well, I'm a wrestler. Like, I was so proud of that. And now I really couldn't say it.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm crying now. I'm like, oh my God. But I've tried instead to embrace the cool things that I get to do that at the time when I was hired, no other woman in the world got to do.
Yeah.
If it was easy, Jess, everybody would do it. And obviously they're not. So, I mean.
Owen.
What's it like doing this and, being successful in a man-dominated industry?
Yeah, I never felt, so when coming in, I wasn't sure what the expectation was going to be. I wasn't sure if they were going to tell me, well, you're just going to strictly do women's matches.
Yeah.
I wasn't, but from the get-go, I'm sorry that my dog keeps growling. Something fell on him, and now he's not liking the other room at all, the whole entire room.
Fine.
Bowen, stop. This is bad time. Sorry.
That's why my kids are at school.
Yeah. I should have daycared him. I really thought that it would be fine, but
no, it is fine. Trust me, we do not care.
It happens.
Yeah, it does. Dogs happen. I wasn't sure what to expect out of it, but from day one, they told me that you're going to do everything that the guys are doing, which meant a lot to me, for not only to be in the position to referee guys contests, but there's a lot to the backside of wrestling or refereeing that people don't realize, as far as we are usually, especially at the level of NXT in the Performance Center, we are a big people manager. We are really big into leading like the buildings of the rings and tearing them down, and the safety of that, and concussion protocols and all of those things. And then I just felt always that the ball was in my court for an opportunity, not because I was a female, but because I was good at my job. And I still feel that now on SmackDown.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah. So it's just, but at the same time, I really hold a high expectation for myself, and I'm essentially setting a standard. You know, prior to this position being created, a lot of what female refereeing was, or known as, was a special guest referee in which the woman would be in like just panties and a sports bra parading around, you know, but like this was an established full-time position with the company and actually doing the role, and doing the role in a way of being able to tell the story that the people were doing in the ring, but not taking away from it. But also having and being an authority woman, independent figure.
Yeah.
So.
Were you accepted? Like, did you ever feel like judged or like you weren't good enough, or like throughout the whole process with it being so male dominating, you know?
Right. I would say it's SmackDown. It's a great environment.
Okay.
Just from the get-go of feeling like a team.
Yeah.
Of feeling like, you know, I have your back and you have mine, you know? So it's let me close the door. Maybe that'll help. I'm so sorry. You cannot. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Wow, is that cool, huh?
Yes. So SmackDown has just been, just from the start, just a really great place to be. And
That's
yeah.
That is good, because it's not always common. Jess, talk to us about your body image, like your growth and confidence, and with that whole journey, and how does that still continue today? Right.
So it has been, and I'm not going to say that I'm at the end of the road and I'm like gun ho and every day is perfect, because that is not a thing. And I think the more that I talk about it, because I just started my own podcast with it and everything like that. So the more I talk about it and the more vulnerable I am with it, the easier it feels. Right.
Yeah.
So it's funny because, like I mentioned with my tryout, I thought I had to be and look a certain way.
Oh yeah.
And I was, you know, for some people, this might be a high number. I hate talking numbers because it there's so, but like I was 155, and that's small for me. Like very, very
tall
small.
Are you, Jess?
I'm 5'8". I'm 5'8", and I, you know, like that was small for me. Some people are like, whoa, what, you know, like, oh, but that for me, that was a big deal. And like,
you have a lot of muscle mass though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's so many different things that come into play, and everyone's body like is happy at a different weight.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so at that weight, I was very, very tiny looking. You know how you look back at pictures? Oh, yeah. And I remember sending my mother a photo and going, man, feel fluffy today. And now looking back at that photo, I'm like, God, I was ridiculously small. Like that's not, you know, so it's just crazy how your brain works in that. It is. So like,
it's crazy how you don't see yourself sometimes and you don't appreciate, and then you look back and you're like, well, I was unhappy there. Holy crap. Like,
right. Yeah. Yes. And it's finding that happiness where you are today that I think is the big superpower in where I am now, because
absolutely.
Say that again for the people in the back, because
oh my God, I don't remember. No. Finding the gratitude and happiness where I am today is my real superpower.
Yes.
Because amazing. I'm doing this. I mean, this is really hard for me, but with Cody now, literally it's been only less than 2 weeks, but I'm getting on the scale every single day.
Because he's having it, right.
Okay. And some people might, well, that's not good for your mental health, which it may not, for some people, they might not be able to do that. But I'm trying to do this better and getting on the scale every day to show myself that it's just data.
Yeah.
I not went out because we don't do that now, but I went and visited some friends, and he made like macaroni and cheese with, what was it? Cheetos crust on top of it. Something that in the past no, absolutely not. Cannot have it. Nope. Cannot. Oh, nope. But Jessica ate it, and then the next morning, Jessica weighed herself and did not have a mental breakdown.
Well, you can't abuse yourself mentally for something like that. It's like, it is what it is, and you move on. I mean,
It's data. It's realizing that, that macaroni and cheese and whatever probably had stuff that I'm retaining water today. Okay. I dropped 3 pounds in a day because I weighed myself the next day.
And we really try to talk to people too. And you know this, Jess, from working with me, about health, like I really am like, don't focus on your weight, as far as defining who you are, defining if you're good enough or not. It's really about, are you giving your body what it needs to perform, at your optimum, like optimal
100%.
best, or just to feel your best? Because we have a lot of symptomatic patients. So I say, like, this food, I don't care if what you eat as far as like what it, mentally or whatever, but what I care about is, what is it going to do to you? And symptomatically, like, is it going to make you feel like crap? Then don't eat it.
Yes.
So it's not about, is it going to make you have, 4 abs, a 4-pack rather than a 6-pack or whatever. And it depends on your goal. For me, the goal is health. So I think that, with health, you can do stuff like that. And then as long as you don't mentally beat yourself up or go, you have to run 10 miles the next day because you ate something off, whatever, beat yourself up about it, then that's actually mentally healthy. So
exactly. 100%. And while we're on this, the health idea, so what really started our communication was I'd followed Lori Christine King.
Yeah.
And one of her, because I was struggling with, I just kept putting on weight for in my mind, no reason. Like, but really I was bouncing from thing to thing. I was doing keto, but doing, 2 hours of spin classes. It was just, like, I'm doing the work. I was already hired by WWE. So I was working out. My job is physical, but I'm like, but the scales keep going. And my stomach I remember going to Lululemon and taking a photo in the, trying stuff on. I'm like, what is wrong with, and just feeling so out of control with everything.
Yeah.
But the kicker with the health idea was that I followed Lori, and she is big on women's health and things of that nature. And one of the things that I think she took from the books that she promotes a lot is that your period is your monthly report card to your health.
Isn't that
I was like, oh, well, I have no report card.
Wow.
And I hadn't had one for years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. So that was kind of what the shift was of, not only am I not in a good space with mentally with what my body is doing and what I physically look like, there's no benefit to not having a period. Like I'm not healthy and something's wrong with this. So before working with you, I had went to doctors, and that it was bad because they had there were no answers for me.
Right.
We don't know why you don't have
investigation either, which is sad. And the answer usually is, let's put you on this birth control pill to make your body do something it's not supposed to do. And that is not what you need to do. I mean, I have hundreds of patients who come to me with no period, and there's many different reasons why, but you have to figure out what the why is. And birth control is not the why. It's the why you don't get your period sometimes, but it's not the why they bring it back or to solve the underlying issue of why you weren't getting it in the first place.
Exactly.
That's still not talked about. It's not.
No, it's not. It's not at all.
Yeah.
And it was rough for them to say when I was 27 years old, we don't know if you'll ever have kids.
Like it's nothing. Like, go get a haircut.
Sorry. They put me on a medication that women go on after menopause.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, cool. Well, so that's when I started working with you. That's when I started. And I just felt like, not necessarily that I was broken, but that like there were answers.
Yeah.
That there were answers, and that I wasn't crazy. That's another one. Like, and that like there was hope. Right. And then I worked with Cody, and then consistently getting in the food with Cody, not just because I would eat a lot, but it would be after a week of deprivation or a week of doing keto or a week of, and then I would binge, and then but consistently getting in what my body needed. I can say now that I've had a consistent period for probably over a year.
That's
great,
awesome.
Jess.
So it's like, and like I celebrate every time, like my mom thinks I'm nuts.
People complain. It is not a
I'm like,
complaint.
no.
It is a celebration for sure.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about your mindset with your long-term goals.
Yeah. So I do a lot of listening to different podcasts and things of that nature. Because if anything, I realize that the more positive I'm going to talk to myself and the more positive things that I put out, the more positive I'm going to get back. Like I'm such a believer in that. Especially there's I forget, but it's breaking the habit of being yourself. I forget. Yeah, and it's just the idea, like it like really got me thinking of how your brain doesn't know if something's happened or not, but it's the emotions and the thoughts and the those things that like can make anything come into fruition. I'd listen to a lot of Rob Dial on his podcast, and then Cody's too. Like they kind of all preach the same things of just, nothing is impossible. And your perspective on how you look at things, regardless. Like the crappiest thing can happen to you, but if you take it of how it happened for you rather than to you. It's harder said than done, because like yesterday it was a real test for me because I was just having a really bad, awful day. Like one thing after another, I just felt stressed. I'm like, how can I make this a positive right now? And it was hard. It was hard, but because I had practiced and had been preaching these things, I felt like I had to at least do that because I wasn't being authentic to myself if I wasn't. You know what I mean? Especially with talking about it as much as I do and try to put that out into the world. So
yeah, I always say to people, who are they get upset about being symptomatic. And I'm like, your symptoms are a blessing because they are telling you there is an issue.
Yes.
Some people go through life with zero symptoms and then they die of a heart attack at 40 years old and they have no idea it was coming. And, I have mast cell activation syndrome, so I tend to be a symptomatic person, if I don't sleep enough or whatever it is. But my body is telling me I don't like this and I do like this. So it's actually something to be grateful for when you have that kind of thing, like pushing you and telling you what to do. So
absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, it's so true.
All right. So Jess, talk to us about how, and we've touched on this a little bit, but how does diet structure and overall body awareness help body composition and goals?
One thing that Cody says often, I just steal everything from Cody.
Yeah.
is awareness precedes change. So you can't change something unless you're aware of it, whether that's your daily food intake, whether that's the sleep that you're getting, whether that's the things that you feel as far as your mind and your thoughts. If you're not aware of anything, you're not gonna be able to change it for the good or the bad.
Right.
So that's just a huge part, I think, of the whole process of change is first knowing that you want to change something, but then making the effort to doing so just by, I track my macros and I track my sleep and all those things. And you can see the correlation too and then you can see how the data changes because of that. Oh, the scale is up because I had, horrible sleep last night. That's normal. I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah. Being aware.
Just being aware, like thoughts are a big one. Being aware of what you're thinking. Just, I see like I was just even hanging out with some friends that visited, and she said something about her fat butt in front of her child, and like I don't have kids. I can't relate to having that constant ears all the time. You know what I mean? But like just those small things of how, and you talk to yourself, even like my mom is guilty of saying, oh, I'm so stupid. Well, no.
Don't do it. No.
Yeah. Cause if you're saying that out loud, what are you thinking in here?
Right.
Yeah. I say to people sometimes too, I'm like, if that's what's coming out of your mouth, I don't even want to know what's going on in your head. And that's sad. Like, you shouldn't be saying those things, nor should you be even thinking those things, because that puts you into that place. And it doesn't matter who's listening or who's not. I mean, it's worse if someone's listening, obviously, like a child. But even just to think that about yourself and to say that out loud about yourself, it's a very, very bad place to be. Yes. And people need to be more aware of what they're saying about themselves, because it puts you into that mindset of that's who you are. And it's not good.
Yep. It gives yourself more than likely a false identity of what you can and can't do, you know, or, you know, if you always say, well, there goes the diet again. I knew that wasn't going to happen, but no, just say, well, I didn't get it this time. Next time will be better. Or what did I learn from this time? Like, it's not a fall off the wagon thing. And that's what really helped me too, was thinking long-term. Like, this is the road that I'm on. There's no falling off of it. If there's a small detour, then I'm going to get right back on. Like, there's no all or nothing mindset anymore for me. I'm trying to think that way I'm just continually going. There is no, there's no failing.
It's a thing. It's a meal. It's missing a workout. It's whatever. And then the next minute you do it differently. It's nothing to, you know, I hear people say that all the time. My God, Krystal, how many times do we hear patients say, I was doing really well with what you started me on. I did it for 4 weeks, because they think everything I tell them is 4 weeks for some reason. And then they're like, and then I started to, you know, I ate pizza with my family, and then I just fell off the wagon. So then I started doing everything again, you know, this and that. And now I'm back where I was, and I'm not sleeping anymore. And I'm like, whoa, like, first of all, you didn't have to beat yourself up. It's not falling off the wagon. You ate pizza. Who cares? You ate pizza. The next meal, don't. Like, or do, and then the next meal don't. I mean, whatever, you know, it's just mindset is just so important.
It is so important. It really can just trickle down and cause a domino effect, right?
Yes, 100%. I actually, I'm going to start up. It's a health mindset coaching certification, which I'm excited about. It's just interesting. It's so I did Precision Nutrition, their nutrition certification during the pandemic last year, because it was something to use my time. And now I just found like but more on behavior change, how to get people to change their behaviors, the mindsets that come with that, what your thoughts, and just even if like I might not use it soon, I just think it would be not only just beneficial for myself, but just really interesting.
So people need that. If you guys don't follow Jessika on Instagram, you have to, because I love your Instagram. It is her being her and loving herself exactly the way she is. And you work in an industry where these girls are perfect, you know, quote unquote. And I mean, you know, no, you know, cellulite, whatever, you know, whatever your description of perfect visually is. I mean, they're beautiful. And so are you. And, you know, you are you, and you embrace it, and you show it, and you are happy about it. And I love that. And so you guys have to definitely follow Jessika. Jessika, give us your handle, because I want to make sure people follow you.
Yep. It's WWE Lady Ref Jess. That's on Instagram and the Twitter.
And you get to see her in action, reffing, and it's awesome. I have to tell you something funny. My ex-boyfriend, and also coincidentally, Krystal's ex-boyfriend. Whole nother show. But anyway, he is a huge WWE fan. Huge. And when you were my patient, I didn't know you were in the WD, because we didn't talk about that. Like that wasn't, and I'm not, you know, admittedly a WWE follower to really, except for I've watched some of the shows and stuff on it, like Bella Twins, those type of stuff. But anyway, and he was like, oh my gosh, do you know that Jessika Carr is following you? And I'm like, well, yeah. And he's like, she's a WWE ref. And I'm like, what? I mean, like, that's awesome.
It's crazy for me too, because like I'm just me,
Oh yeah.
And it's like, you discover that too when you go into SmackDown, and then you're working with these stars that were stars before, and now you're like, oh well, that's just them. And
right.
It's kind of powerful too to realize it's just people.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
And what's real fun for me too is when I'll go to Walmart or something, or Target, and I see someone wearing a wrestling shirt. I'm like, if only you knew. And it's because, people who don't recognize me generally, because I look different anyway when I'm doing my thing anyway. But like, it's just yeah. Even like
funny.
Just the day after, I'm just like,
it's awesome though. It's something to be so proud of, because it's not just anybody who makes it into that. You were special. You made it into it for your own reasons, and it's something to be really proud of. I think that's really cool.
Happen. Yeah, it's been a journey, and still a journey, but we're on the road and crawling, as I like to say.
And I've watched you grow too. I mean, I've watched you get bigger and bigger in this thing. So this is really cool.
Yeah.
So tell us your why. Like, what is your why for all of this?
I know.
I know it's hard, because what I always end up going back to, I guess, is being that little girl again. Oh no, the tears, I feel them. They're here. The tears, they're here. And just loving it so much. I like, so many times I would leave an arena. Because my dad would take me to so many shows. I lived in Baltimore, but he would take me to Philadelphia. He would take me to Virginia. He would take me to New York. He would take me everywhere. I would go and drive 6 hours to just do a meet and greet signing for the people that I loved. Like, so much money, so much time. And I just remember the feeling of that passion and loving it so much. Like, so many events and time. And I guess just going back to that little girl of not believing in herself, even at the time of just basic everyday life, of wrestling was my thing. So that's what gave me life, and still does, just listening to the WWE theme songs on the bus, and people always say, oh, you're going to miss high school. You're going to miss high school. This is the best time of your life. No, high school sucked. I hated high school.
Same.
Like, I hated high school, but that wrestling is what got me through everything. It still does. So,
you do a lot of things with your dad, you said?
Oh yeah. Yeah. A lot of events with dad.
Yeah.
He doesn't even like wrestling, really. Oh. he just likes to go, and he'll talk to me about it. Like, his favorite is Bailey. I don't know if you know Bailey, but
he must be so proud of you.
He wants me happy. That's the big thing. That's the big thing.
Yeah. So.
It's definitely improving, because I'm just so hard on myself. And and having, honestly, that dream, I'm very critical that, quote unquote, I didn't reach what I originally thought. That identity.
Reached further. I think you've gone far. You have gone far. And really mostly within your own feelings about yourself.
Oh, yes.
That's the prize right there.
Yes. 1,000,000%. And being able to share that too is big. And again, that is I'm not done with it. Like, there's still, everyone has the days. Everyone has their days, right? But like, to not cry over a number anymore, or not like, oh, here's a great example of what would have destroyed me in previous lives.
Talk to us about how weight's not a number. This is what
it's how you feel, you feel about yourself. So there was a lady today at the gym. She, not older per se, but older than me. So maybe in her 40s, maybe her 50s. And she was very talkative in the sauna, talking. I don't know about what. Ultimately, she leaves, and
I've met her.
Yeah. yeah. She's talking. I don't know. But then she comes out and she talks about how she needs to lose the last 10 pounds. She's doing this. She goes, oh, you have big legs like me. You got to keep yourself in check. And I was like, oh, she's like, you just started working out too? I'm like, nope, 10 years. And, you know, I recognize my thought patterns and recognize my emotions. And like that I definitely felt something off of that. I definitely triggered me, but it would have killed me in different ways.
Oh yeah.
So you handled it differently inside than you would have before. Yeah.
1,000,000%. And I just was like, you have no idea, my dear. And the way I try to recognize is that the way people generally see other people or talk to other people is generally how they see and talk about themselves.
Very true. Very true.
So
Jess.
she probably struggles with that as well.
Very. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when I see people like that, that's kind of my first thought. I'm like, I feel sad for you. That's how you feel. You're projecting that onto me, but that's how you feel about you. And it's sad. So it's great that you recognize that for sure.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And for me today to be the weight that I am, I'm 185 right now. Like 10-year-old me would not have thought that I could be where I am and doing the things that I do at 185 pounds.
Yeah.
Like even part of me inside is like, wow, you just said your weight. That's probably dangerous. But like,
that's good. Say it. Like, who cares? It's a number.
Yeah.
You are, you know, everyone is so different.
Girl for over a year.
Yeah, right? I know. Yeah.
Celebrate that. Celebrate your period for sure. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
So what's next for you, Jess?
There is a lot of uncertainty in my line of work. We don't know generally what is going on that evening when we're there at 3 p.m. Like it's utter chaos, but I don't think I would enjoy a life much different because I like hanging on the seat of my pants and going, what's the adventure now? Like, where are we going? What are we doing? Like, it's fun for me. I can't imagine my dad made me do an internship at his work when I was like junior year of high school. And it was sitting and at a computer and for 8 hours a day. I'm like, I can't do this. This is really bad. So I'm so glad that I'm able to do what I do on top of being on TV and traveling and doing what I love, so yeah, just.
Do you get nervous with that whole huge crowd that you're in? I mean, look at her pictures on Instagram and it's like, holy crap, I'd be crapping.
Well, truthfully, I get more so nervous because our main boss, McMahon, whenever he is there, which he's normally there, that's when I get nervous the most.
Wow. Okay.
The people are fun for me. We love having people there because that energy that you feel, because the sound comes straight to you. So I have gotten goosebumps I always have gotten goosebumps from crowd.
I'm going to pass out.
I know that's the best. Literally though, I'll go like now, like there's parts before a match and I'll go over, it's our timekeeper announcer guy. And I'll just go to him and I'll go, puke. And I've never puked out of nervousness before, but I just tell him, I go, puke. But, we have WrestleMania coming up soon, April. I just checked just to make sure I didn't have to check again. It's 2 nights again this year, April 10th and 11th. We are joining. We have the WWE network right now, but we are now joining with Peacock. So the what is it? It's kind of like Hulu, but it's Peacock. I don't know. If we're doing that, they just moved to Peacock, so it'll be available. Yeah, it'll be available on Peacock that Saturday and Sunday. So that's the next big thing. People will be back. Don't know how many people will be in attendance, but it's going to sound like 55 million people.
Oh,
yeah. Cause we've done for the past year. I mean, if you didn't know, we've done empty arena shows.
Wow.
Yeah, I did know that.
It's such a weird year, isn't it?
It's been nuts, especially, I'm lucky where I'm not throwing myself against that ring, but these guys and girls are doing that. And the people, like I said, that energy helps.
It gets them
so
going.
much. Yes. And so to do that without that, it's definitely been trying and difficult for the guys and girls, but they've done it and they've done extremely well with it. So, and I'm just
have little cutouts like of people in the stands. I know they do that with sports, don't they?
Wild when you see that. You're like,
they do.
Really?
Yeah, they do. Yeah. For us, we have been doing, it's called the Thunderdome, which and Tropicana Field right now. So there's screens, massive amounts of screens, and people will literally go on their computers.
Oh, and they'll like Skype in or like.
Yep, they'll Skype in, and then their face from their computers will be at Tropicana. Yeah, you should check it out. Check it out.
I see that on The Voice.
Yes. It's great. Yeah, exactly. But the fact that, it's like 3,000 people at one time that they filter in and out, it's nuts. Even on that realm of, if WWE wants it to happen, WWE makes it happen. Like it's a machine. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
Tell us about your podcast. You just started your podcast, right?
Yes, I'm literally 3 episodes deep.
How are you liking it? I mean, we just started ours. This is what,
episode 5.
Yeah. It's exciting because a lot of what wrestling was for me when I did wrestle was that creative outlet, because it's an art form, it's expression. So that I can't do that as much as a referee. Yeah. And speaking and delivering my message and just communicating, like that's a big part of my creativity that I really like. Yeah. So I'm ahead of schedule. I have about 15 recorded. Oh, cool. Yeah. So I'm just slowly, because I don't like to run out of things. Even when I'm home, like I like to, I'm almost out of oatmeal. Crap, I got to order some when I have like a half container. But like, I don't like to stress over things like that. So slowly and gradually, and be able to edit them as I go and just enjoy. So it's one of those things where hopefully I can continue doing it. I don't know if it's, for whatever reason I'll be able to not be able to do it anymore, but enjoying it so far. It's called the Brink Life Podcast, hence Brink based on, I used to wrestle under Kennedy Brink, but also my mentor named Pat Brink that I talked about earlier. So Brink Life Podcast, because you're on the brink of something big every day. You just have to be ready for it.
Love that, Jess. Well, tell us where else we can find you.
Yep, just as I mentioned, Instagram and Twitter, WWE Lady Ref Jess. So those are my 2 main ones. Yeah.
All right. Well, we loved having you. We loved working with you. And I'm so proud of you and just watching your progress and seeing everything you're doing. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yes. Thank you very much. I'm glad we got to happen.
All right. Everyone have an awesome day.
See you later.